Hello, second graders. My name is Ms. Germeroth, and I will be the teacher instructing your social studies mini lesson for today. Make sure you have your social studies notebook and a pencil nearby. You'll need them after this video. Think about your favorite park. Now, think about how you would feel if you were told that you could never play there ever again. I know I've been to Annie's Playground and Angel Park with my cousins before, and I would feel pretty unhappy. I'd be very upset if someone told me I could never go there again. Luckily, you all have the right and the freedom to go to any playground and play anywhere that you would like. No one can tell you that you cannot go there. We mentioned the words freedom and rights yesterday when talking about how citizens have the right to vote. The word freedom means that people can make their own choices. Rights are freedoms that people in the United States have to make their own choices. For example, everyone is able to make their own choice about what they want to wear each day. And you have the choice of what you want to eat each day or what you may want to order off a menu. It is your right and your freedom to make these choices. Last week, we talked about the colonists, or the people that came and lived in these 13 colonies, which would eventually become the first states of the United States. Now, when the colonists first left England and began living in the 13 colonies, they had very little rights and very little freedoms. Before the colonists had their freedom, there were times where they had to let soldiers live in their homes. There were times where they had to make their own clothes because clothes were way too expensive. At one point, ships couldn't even leave the area and were forced to stay near the colonies. And they were forced to buy tea from one country, so they could only buy tea from England. How would you feel if you had to let strangers live in your home, if you had to make your own clothes because they were all way too expensive, you were never allowed to leave the area, or if you could only buy things from one store? Eventually, this changed because two very important documents were signed. The first is known as the Declaration of Independence. This states that the land is controlled by the people and no longer controlled by other countries or by kings. And it stated that other countries cannot tell us what to do. The second important document, known as the Constitution, and within it is the Bill of Rights. This document limits the government's power, so they can't tell us too many rules and they can't control every single part of our life, which means that it protects the people. That's why it even starts with, "We the people." After these documents were signed, the colonists, and years later all of us now, were given back many of these freedoms that were originally taken away by the King of Great Britain. So, for example, you are now allowed to lock your door, and you do not need to let a stranger into your house. You are allowed to travel from different counties, to different states, to different countries, and you have the freedom and you have the right to buy whatever you want from wherever you want. I am going to read you an informational text that tells us a little bit more about some of the freedoms and the rights that we now have since the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights were signed. Land of the Free, The Kids' Book of Freedom by Anders Hansen. What is freedom? Freedom means having the right to make choices about your life. It's the 4th of July. Maya waves a small American flag. The United States has many freedoms. Mark and his 4 friends stand on a hill. They hold a huge American flag. In the United States, many freedoms are protected by the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is part of the Constitution. The United Nations lists rights for children. It's called the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. It is for all children in the world. It says children have the right to life, health care, and education. How are you free? What are your freedoms? Freedom to vote. Adults have the freedom to vote. Voters decide who the leaders will be. Freedom of religion. Freedom of religion means you have the right to believe in any religion. So does everyone else. Freedom to choose where to live. Adults have the right to choose where to live. They can live anywhere. Tim and Carson's parents chose to live in Minnesota. They moved there from Iowa. Freedom of speech. You have the right to your own ideas. You can tell people what you think. Freedom to go to school. You have the right to go to school. Learning helps you be and do what you want. Math is Veronica's favorite subject. She wants to be a banker when she grows up. What will you do? What is one way you can use your freedoms?